Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 51 of the Unstoppable Entertainment Show, the most comprehensive entertainment news show on the internet. I am, of course, Nate Schaffner, otherwise known as the Unstoppable Nate. I do apologize for not doing a show earlier this week. I've had a crazy work schedule, but I wanted to do at least one show this week, so I'm recording that today, and then after I do this, I'm actually going to go see Send Help, the new horror movie from Sam Raimi, starring Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien, which I'm very excited about seeing. I'm so excited. Um, but before I get started today, I just wanted to remind everybody that if you like this show, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, spread the word, tell your friends. Also, if you have a comment, a question, or if you'd like me to talk about certain movies or franchises, you can email me anytime at the address listed in the description of this video. So with all that out of the way, speaking of movies that I'm very excited for, you guys know that I've been talking about this new Exorcist movie that is going to be directed by Mike Flanagan. And it's a new... it's an all-new story set in the Exorcist universe, but it's not going to be a sequel to any of the pre-existing Exorcist movies. And Mike Flanagan is directing it, who directed most famously Doctor Sleep, which I fucking loved. That movie was brilliant. Anyway, so this article, there's been more casting news regarding that movie. This article is on Deadline, published by Matt Grobar. And this article says Diane Lane has closed a deal to star alongside Scarlett Johansson and Jacoby Jupe in the next installment of the iconic horror franchise The Exorcist from filmmaker Mike Flanagan. No word on the role Lane will play, and plot details are being kept under wraps. What's known is that the film will tell an all-new story set in the Exorcist universe and is not a sequel to 2023's The Exorcist Believer. Thank God. God, I'm so excited for this movie. Diane Lane. I love Diane Lane. She's one of my favorite actresses. She actually... she got an Oscar nomination for, I believe, Unfaithful with Richard Gere. I adore that woman so much. I love her. She's done a lot of, she's done a few films with Francis Ford Coppola. She was in The Outsiders. She was in The Cotton Club. And obviously she was she played Martha Kent in the Zack Snyder Superman Batman universe. Let's see, what else? Jesus. She was in The Glass House. I think that was the first movie I saw her in, was The Glass House. No, it was Hardball. I first saw her in Hardball with Keanu Reeves. And I kind of like that movie, you know. She was in Jack with Robin Williams. She was in that awful Judge Dredd movie with Sylvester Stallone. She was in Chaplin. She played Paulette Goddard in Chaplin. You know, I'm just such a huge fan of hers. You know, I can't wait to see this movie. I can speculate about who I think she's gonna play. She could be playing Scarlett Johansson's mother. That could be interesting. Or, you know what? I don't think they've cast I don't think they've cast a priest for this movie. I mean, it's an exorcist movie. You're going to have a priest in there. Excuse me. That would be kind of interesting if she played a priest. That could be cool. God, I'm so excited for this movie. I love Mike Flanagan as a filmmaker. He's got several projects lined up too. I know that he wrote the upcoming Clayface movie for the DC universe, which I'm very excited about that too. He's an incredible filmmaker. He also directed the Stephen King adaptation. He's done a lot of Stephen King adaptations, but he directed The Life of Chuck with Tom Hiddleston that didn't get nearly the attention that movie deserved. And I love her. I can speculate. I'm just I this cast is incredible, and this could be. I think this is going to be great. I really, really do. So I can speculate about who she's going to play, but we'll see what happens. So jump in the comments section and let me know your thoughts on Diane Lane joining the Mike Flanagan Exorcist movie. Okay, moving on to a movie that I'm not too excited for, and I'm questioning why it's even happening. So, for those who don't know, about 5 or 6 years ago, a sequel to Dirty Dancing was announced. And no, I'm not talking about that awful, awful, awful Dirty Dancing Havana Nights. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about there was going to be, I guess the term now is legacy sequel, a proper sequel to Dirty Dancing. And for the record, I quite enjoyed Dirty Dancing. There's another, it's not Footloose, but there's another romantic comedy movie that involves dancing that I get Dirty Dancing confused with. But I quite enjoyed Dirty Dancing. So about 5 or 6 years ago, a sequel to Dirty Dancing was announced. And I think we all, as film fans, I think we were all like, why? Patrick Swayze's been dead for a while now. Why is this movie even happening? Because, look, I understand the ending of Dirty Dancing is a little bit ambiguous. I just always assumed that Baby and Johnny stayed together and got married and did the whole thing. They had kids and, and ended up together. They had a life together. I just always assumed that. So to even think about doing a sequel without Patrick Swayze is insulting. It's insulting. Well, there's been more development on the Dirty Dancing sequel. This article is on MovieWeb, published by Richard Fink. This article says, it's official. Jennifer Grey is officially returning as Baby for a Dirty Dancing sequel. It's been almost 6 years since the film was initially announced, but it is finally coming to fruition. This article does go on to say the Dirty Dancing Legacy sequel is expected to begin filming later in 2026. Not only will Jennifer Grey return as Baby, but she is also set to serve as one of the film's executive producers. Cool, I guess. I mean, again, how do you do this movie without Patrick Swayze? I do not understand that. And sure, they could write him out of the movie, or maybe have Baby end up with someone else, or I mean, the thing for me is that I always assumed, well, even if Baby and Johnny didn't end up together and stay together for their stay together their whole lives. I just naturally assumed that Johnny was going to be a major part of her life anyway, like in any capacity. So to do a Dirty Dancing sequel without Patrick Swayze, without Johnny, is insulting, and it would tarnish everything that those two characters went through in the first movie. It really would. I don't even know if people would show up to see a Dirty Dancing movie without Patrick Swayze. I mean, you want to see the two of them together. You don't want a Dirty Dancing sequel without just Patrick Swayze. You don't want a Dirty Dancing sequel without just Jennifer Grey. You want to see the two of them together. And I don't know that audiences would go see a Dirty Dancing movie without the two of them together. So I don't. I think this is a bad idea. I really do. But I've been wrong before. I don't know. I have a bad feeling. Uh, you know, movie making in America has had a long, sad history of bad ideas, and this could be one of them. So I don't know. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. Anyway, so jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about Jennifer Grey, about one, a Dirty Dancing sequel, and two, Jennifer Grey coming back. What do you guys think about that? Jump in the comment section and let me know. Okay, so moving on here. Let's see. So, one of my favorite actresses is Charlize Theron. I first saw her in the remake of The Italian Job with Mark Wahlberg. And then I saw Monster, which she won the Academy Award for. And I've followed her career ever since. She's one of my favorite actresses. She can also play characters that you hate really, really well. Like her character in Prometheus was a bitch. Just a straight up bitch. And because of the quality of the actress that Charlize Theron is, it felt authentic. I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm saying Charlize Theron is such a capable actress that she brought in authenticity. She always brings authenticity to the character that she plays. Anyway, she was even great in, what was that movie that she did with Hancock? That that superhero movie that she did with Will Smith. That movie really, really let me down. I didn't like it all that much, but she was awesome. She was awesome in that movie. Anyway, so she's got this new movie that she's working on. It is it's a thriller. This article is on Deadline, published by Justin Kroll. This article says Julia Garner is set to star opposite Charlize Theron in the Amazon MGM Studios pick Tyrant from David Whale, who is directing from a script he wrote. Excuse me. Let me see here. Plot details are vague, other than Tyrant is said to have shades of Wall Street and Whiplash, set in New York City's high-end culinary world. That sounds interesting. So Okay, so Julia Garner. For those who don't know who Julia Garner is, Julia Garner, first of all, is coming off quite. She had an incredible year last year in terms of film and TV that she was in. She was on Ozark, the TV series with Jason Bateman. She was in two movies last year that were awesome. She was in Fantastic Four: First Steps, where she played the Silver Surfer, and I loved her Silver Surfer. I loved it. And then she was also in Weapons, where she that horror movie with where she co-starred with Josh Brolin and Amy Madigan, and she was great in that. And that movie, she's one of the reasons that that movie was one of my favorites of last year. She's great in Weapons. Um, and she was also in the Royal Hotel and The Assistant. I think she's wonderful. Um, so for her to co-star alongside Charlize Theron, that's gonna be a powerhouse. I think. To uh, that and to be set in the culinary world, like Whiplash meets Wall Street, set in the culinary world. Maybe Charlize Theron is gonna play this kind of uh, J.K. Simmons kind of character that J.K. Simmons played in Whiplash. Um, if anybody has seen that movie Burnt with Bradley Cooper, that's kind of what this is giving me too. Those kind of vibes. This kind of, Bradley Cooper kind of plays this. Who has the cooking show that the reality cooking show where he's tough on everybody? Um, is it? I'm blanking on it. Is it Iron Chef? No, it's not Iron Chef. Um, um, uh, it's gonna bug me. Hold on. Master Chef. That's it. Um, hold on. Gordon Ramsay. That's who I'm thinking of. Maybe Charlize Theron is gonna play like this Gordon Ramsay kind of character. That could be interesting. That could be cool. Or 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 maybe Julia Garner is and Charlize Theron is. I Who knows? I don't know. Um, but Julia Garner is really coming off a great year of being in a couple of really great movies, and Charlize Theron is an Oscar-winning actress. So what more can you say about her? Um, this sounds great to me. A movie that's Wall Street meets um, Whiplash. That sounds great. That sounds great. Um, and I'm really excited for Julia Garner's future as well, and for her to co-star alongside Charlize Theron, I think is it's kind of like uh, it's kind of like when if you're if it's kind of like playing when you're a new tennis player and you're playing tennis with someone who's a better tennis player than you. Not that Charlize Theron is better than Julia Garner, but when you're playing a sport against someone who has more experience than you, it brings out the best in you. Um, and I think this could um, do that for Julia Garner and really make Julia Garner a household name, as if she's not already. Um, so this sounds great to me. This sounds awesome. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about Tyrant with Julia Garner and Charlize Theron. Okay, so this you might recall this next bit of news. So you might recall, I think it was last episode or the episode before, I talked about this movie called Night Watching that is going to star Mila Kunis, and it's about this mother by the name of Lee who wakes up to an intruder in her home, and it's one of these fight for survival kinds of movies. Well, there's been more casting news regarding that movie. This article is on Deadline, published by Justin Kroll. This article says Corey Hawkins is set to star opposite Mila Kunis in Night Watching, based on Tracy Sierra's debut novel from directors Adam Schindler and Brian Netto. Let me see here. So, okay, so Corey Hawkins, it says here that Corey Hawkins will play the police officer in charge of her home invasion case. So he's going to play, I'm assuming that Mila Kunis is playing the mother, so Corey Hawkins is going to play the police officer in charge of the home invasion case. Corey Hawkins I'm not too familiar with him. I know he was recently in The Piano Lesson for Netflix. And I know he's going to be in, there's this movie that comes out this coming weekend called Crime 101, which looks great. With Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, and Halle Berry. And he's also going to be in the film adaptation of the Walter Mosley novel, The Man in My Basement, which I'm looking forward to seeing that as well. But I'm not too familiar with Corey Hawkins. Let's see if I Corey Hawkins. He looks familiar, but I don't know. Oh, that's right. Corey Hawkins was in, I knew he looked familiar. Corey Hawkins was in Straight Outta Compton, and he played Dr. Dre. And he was unbelievable in that movie. First of all, the casting of that movie was fucking brilliant. And Corey Hawkins as Dr. Dre was awesome. He was great. I forgot that he was in Kong Skull Island. I forgot that he was in that. But yeah, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at a picture of Corey Hawkins. I'm like, I knew he looked familiar. That's what I know him from. He played Dr. Dre in Straight Outta Compton. That movie's great. That movie's awesome. So Corey Hawkins will play the police officer. This is shaping up to, I hope this is good. I hope this is good. It's weird. It's weird to me, like, and I know she's a mother in real life, but it's like I grew up with Mila Kunis as Meg on Family Guy, and she's obviously become this this. She's one of my favorite actresses. But sometimes when you hear, and again, I know that she's a mother in real life, but sometimes when you hear that they're playing a mother in movies, you're just like, wow, I'm old. You know, if Mila Kunis is a mom, you know, it's I don't know. Maybe I'm sounding crazy. I don't know, but this sounds great. I kind of dig thrillers like this. Like I think I said last time that like this kind of reminds me of Panic Room, the movie with Jodie Foster that was directed by David Fincher. Um, this I hope this is good. I hope this is good. Um, you know, yeah. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about Corey Hawkins cast in this movie, cast in Night Watching. Okay, so this next project is interesting. So there's a director by the name of Alexander Payne, who is one of my favorite filmmakers. He directed. I want to go through his. He's won 2 Oscars. He won for Best Adapted Screenplay for The Descendants with George Clooney, which is great, and it's one of George Clooney's finest performances. And he also wrote. He also won the Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay for Sideways. I think that's with that's one of them I haven't seen. One of his movies I haven't seen. I think that's with Paul Giamatti and Thomas Hayden Church, I think. So Alexander Payne, he directed Nebraska. He directed The Descendants, like I said, with George Clooney. He directed Election. With Reese Witherspoon. He's a great filmmaker. I'm trying to see what else. Oh, that's right. He directed in 2 years ago. He directed The Holdovers. With Paul Giamatti, and Paul Giamatti plays this school professor, and it got Paul Giamatti an Oscar nomination. He directed About Schmidt. He directed this movie called Citizen Ruth with Laura Dern. And it's a great movie, and it's about basically Citizen Ruth is about Laura Dern's character. She plays this kind of irresponsible woman who gets pregnant, and the movie is about the community that she lives in. Try to sway her. I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase it. I'm trying to think of the best way to put my words. Words are hard sometimes. But Laura Dern's character is kind of this irresponsible woman, and she ends up getting pregnant, and she ends up getting embroiled in this kind of. The community finds out. Like, the community knows how irresponsible she is, and um, they found out that she got pregnant, and half the community wants her to get rid of it, get rid of the baby, and half the community wants her to have the baby. And it's a great movie, and it's one of those movies that, because of the subject matter involved, it kind of, it makes, whether you're, you know, uh, no matter what, like I'm a male viewer watching that movie, and that movie made me think. It's just it's a really powerful movie uh, about um, important life choices, and um, choices that you make that may or may not change how people feel about you. And it's an incredible movie. If you have, it's called Citizen Ruth. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. And Laura Dern is incredible in that movie. So anyway, Alexander Payne is one of my favorite filmmakers. And he's now he's gotten his cast together for a new movie that he's doing. And this article is on Deadline, published by Anthony D'Alessandro. Two-time Oscar winner, this article says, two-time Oscar winner Alexander Payne's third picture with Searchlight Studios. The Danish comedy drama Somewhere Out There has set its cast with Jacob Haugaard, Jacob Lohman, Ole Sorensen, and Lane Lind, joining previously announced Oscar nominee Renate Reinsve from Sentimental Value. This article goes on to say, set in a small provincial town in western Denmark, Somewhere Out There follows Lars and Klaus. Lars will be played by Jacob Haugaard. Klaus will be played by Ole Sorensen. Excuse me just a second. I love when that happens. Somewhere Out There follows Lars and Klaus, whose longtime friendship is fractured late in life. This article does point out it is the first time that Alexander Payne has directed a movie in Europe, as well as the first film he shot in a language other than English. That's cool. That's pretty cool. Okay, so a movie is about a long-time friendship that is fractured late in life. I haven't, admittedly, I haven't seen all of Alexander Payne's films, and I can simply go on the fact, judging from watching Citizen Ruth and The Descendants with George Clooney. Alexander Payne, those two movies are about relationships that, well, more so The Descendants, but I would say that both movies are about a subject matter or about character relationships that get fractured in some way. Like in Citizen Ruth, the community is fractured and divided over the character that Laura Dern plays, and what decision she should make regarding her unborn child. And The Descendants is about a family that gets fractured when George Clooney's character finds out uh, his wife's secret, but he doesn't find it out until after um, she dies. But it's also Alexander Payne, also based off of those two movies. He tells stories about fractured relationships, fractured families, but he does it in a way that does not bring you down. He does it in a way that, in the end, like at one at at one point in both those movies, obviously things are fractured with with things are fractured with friends and family, but at the end there's healing and um, that kind of thing. Again, Alexander Payne is very talented at telling those kinds of stories that don't make you depressed and don't bring you down. They kind of, he tells those stories in a way that in the end you feel, you feel better. You feel like, yeah, sometimes bad shit happens, but um, you kind of come out the other side refreshed and renewed about the next chapter of your life. Um, and, and like things are going to be okay, you know. Maybe refreshed is the wrong word, but like you come out the other side and, you know, yeah, that was rough, but things are going to be fine. And you know, the healing has begun by the end of the movie. And this, um, you know, and again, I like that Alexander Payne uh, do, tells those kinds of stories in that particular way. Um, it's cool that uh, uh, Alexander Payne is directing a movie in Europe, and that this is the first film he shot in a language other than English. That's cool. You know, I'm sure that was challenging. Mm. But I'm looking forward to it. I need to see Alexander Payne's other films. I'm looking forward to it. Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with any of the, other than Renate Rienzeve from Sentimental Value. I'm not familiar with any of these. These are Danish actors. Unfortunately, I'm not familiar. Um, uh, I'm a little bit familiar with Lane Lind, who was in Matador. Um, um, yeah. Other than that, I'm not uh, familiar with any of the cast. Um, yeah. So this sounds, you know, uh, a long time friendship is fractured late in life. You know, is that friendship going to be healed? Is that, you know, or is one of them, like, how late in life are we talking? Like, is one of these friends going to die, and that friendship had having never been healed? I think this is much like Citizen Ruth and The Descendants. I think this movie is going to tug at the heartstrings a little bit, and you know, I think, I also think that as people get older, and I say this for myself too. Granted, I'm only 41 years old, but um, as people get older, I think we realize how important our friendships are to us. Um, and I really think this movie is going to tug at the heartstrings, particularly if it's helmed by Alexander Payne. So jump in the comments section and let me know what you guys think about Alexander Payne and his movie Somewhere Out There. Okay, so this next bit of news might ruffle some feathers. So you guys know, or if you don't know, you should know, that there is a sequel coming to the live-action How to Train Your Dragon, which I believe I talked about either last week or the week before. And Kate Blanchett is returning to play the live-action version of Valka, I think. But there's going to be a second one, but I haven't seen the first one, and I need to. So there's been some casting news. Now, I should say, I have only seen the How to Train Your Dragon, the animated films. I've only seen them all the way through once. So there's a character that I'm going to say here, and forgive me if I mispronounce it. So there's a character. There was a character in the animated How to Train Your Dragon 2 named Eret, or Eret, I think. Eret. That was voiced by Kit Harington. Obviously, Kit Harington was on Game of Thrones. He did the voice of Eret, or Eret, in the animated How to Train Your Dragon 2. Kit Harington will not be playing the live-action version of that character. That might ruffle some feathers. That might not. Who knows? However, there has been casting news regarding that character. Let me just pull this up here. Just a second. So this article is on CBR, published by Jamie Levitt. How to Train Your Dragon 2 has cast Ted Lasso's Phil Dunster as Eret, or Eret, in the live-action remake. Dunster will take over the role voiced by Game of Thrones star Kit Harington in the original 2014 animated sequel. Normally, a new actor taking over the live-action performance of a role voiced by another actor in animation wouldn't be unusual, and indeed that is what the How to Train Your Dragon live-action films have been doing for the most part. However, there have been some notable exceptions, such as Gerard Butler reprising his character Stoic the Vast in live-action, and the recent confirmation that Kate Blanchett will reprise Valka Haddock, Stoic's wife, in the sequel. So it doesn't really say why Kit Harington is not going to be reprising his role as this character. Maybe I'm not sure if he's doing other things or I mean he probably is. It just I guess it's only weird because I mean I guess it's not really that weird, but it's like every other actor who voiced a character is coming back except for Kit Harington. Which, might ruffle some feathers, might not. Phil Dunster, I am not familiar with because I haven't watched Ted Lasso. Mostly because I am not a fan of Jason Sudeikis at all. That's just me. I can't stand Jason Sudeikis, so I'm not too familiar with Phil Dunster. Um, Obviously, would I have preferred Kit Harington to reprise this character? Sure. Am I going to boycott the live action How to Train Your Dragon 2 because he's not coming back? No. You know, I'm sure that Phil Dunster will do a fine job. But who knows? I might be the only one who feels that way. Again, it does feel a tad odd because, like this article points out, Gerard Butler and Kate Blanchett are coming back. So that does feel odd. But you know, the voice actors for the original How to Train Your Dragon 2 for Hiccup and oh, I forget the female girl's character. Those guys didn't come back. So, you know, it is what it is. So, jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about Phil Dunster filling the role of Eret, or Eret, or however the hell you pronounce it, in How to Train Your Dragon 2, the live action version. Okay, so this next bit of news is, for me, it's disappointing. So, you guys know that there is going to be a live action Gundam movie that is going to star Noah Centineo and Sydney Sweeney. I'm a big Gundam fan. Huge. Well, not huge. But I'm a big fan. I wouldn't say I'm a Gundam fan the way I am of Star Wars or Star Trek or Dune or something like that. But you know, I really love Gundam, especially the original. I mean, come on, who doesn't love the original Gundam? There has been some movement on this live-action Gundam movie, and for me personally, it's disappointing. This article is on CBR, published by John Dodge. This article says, the hotly anticipated live-action Gundam feature film has a distributor and a streaming home. Per Deadline, insider sources have reported that Netflix is set to serve as the live-action Gundam film's leading distributor, which presumably means Gundam has its sights set on Netflix as its ultimate streaming home. Neither the streaming giant nor Legendary Pictures offered any comment on the matter. So it's got to go to Netflix. This sucks. I will probably go so far as to say that, like, now my interest for this movie has been killed on sight. This is terrible. Who wants to see a Gundam movie on Netflix? Who? I don't. I want to see it on the biggest screen possible. Now, Netflix could do what they did with The Irishman, where they played it in theaters for a couple of weeks or 1 week or whatever, but nobody wants that either. This sucks. I'm not sorry about. I would say I'm sorry, but this sucks. It doesn't. I'm not sorry. This flat out sucks. Um, this has killed my enthusiasm for it. I mean, I hope it's good. I hope it's good. Um, and Netflix certainly has the money. Um, I just this kills flat any excitement and enthusiasm I had for it. Um, Again, nobody wants to see a Netflix movie. Nobody wants to watch a Netflix movie at home. They want to watch it on a big ass screen. And I don't. Sometimes I just don't understand these kinds of business decisions. Not sometimes. Well, sometimes. Sometimes I just don't understand this business at all, and this is one of those times. This is a downer. This is a downer, at least for me. Maybe some people are still interested in watching a Gundam live action movie at home on television on Netflix, but I'm not. So I just wanted to read about this and give you guys an update on the Gundam movie. So jump in the comments section and let me know what you guys think about the live action Gundam movie going to Netflix. All right. Moving on here. So I think last episode I talked about either last episode or the episode before. I talked about that there's a filmmaker by the name of Damien Chazelle who directed La La Land and First Man and Whiplash, and he also directed this movie called Babylon, which was his first major his first film that was not successful critically or financially. It had Margot Robbie in it. I still haven't watched it. Anyway. So it's this prison. So Damien Chazelle has lined up his next movie, and it's a prison film, and it's going to star Cillian Murphy and Daniel Craig and Michelle Williams. Well, there's been more casting news regarding that movie. This article is on Joe Blow, published by E.J. Tangerman. And a little ways down here, this article says, despite little details being known about this project, Deadline now reveals that Mia Threepleton, whom audiences may have seen in Wes Anderson's The Phoenician Scheme, opposite Benicio del Toro, is now joining Cillian Murphy, Daniel Craig, and Michelle Williams in the untitled prison drama. Mia Threepleton has been cast in this movie. I'm not familiar with her because I didn't see The Phoenician Scheme. I am a huge Wes Anderson fan though. He's one of my favorite filmmakers. But I never got around to watching it. So I can't comment on the casting too much of Mia Threepleton. I will say, like I always say, more casting news means they're going to start filming soon, which is awesome. Especially, uh, you know, again, like I said the last time I talked about this movie, the, the this prison movie is going to start filming too, and that's great, especially for Damien, and it's great because um, I think there was worry, especially on Damien Chazelle's part, about whether or not he was, because of the financial disaster that was his Babylon movie. Um, I think Damien Chazelle and others were worried about whether or not he would ever make a movie again, which is weird to me because, again, like I pointed out, you have movies that movies like Whiplash, movies like First Man, movies that like won the Oscar, like La La Land won the Oscar for Best Picture. So it's, the fact that Damien Chazelle struggled to get this movie off the ground is odd to me. So I'm glad that I'm actually thrilled that this movie is happening. And I can't wait to see what it is. I can't wait to hear more about it. But as far as Mia Threepleton goes, I can't, Mia Threepleton specifically, I can't comment on that because I haven't yet watched The Phoenician Scheme. But again, more casting news means they're going to start filming soon, and I cannot wait for that. So, have you guys seen The Phoenician Scheme from director Wes Anderson? If so, what do you think about the casting of Mia Threepleton? Jump in the comment section and let me know. So, a couple more stories here for today. So one of my favorite actresses has always been Kate Beckinsale. I saw her in I think the first movie I saw her in was Pearl Harbor, which I think I've talked about before. I took my dad to see that for his birthday, and he didn't like it at all, so I kind of felt bad. I mean, admittedly, it's not very good, but when at that time, I'm 15, 16 years old, and that's exactly the kind of audience that movie is made for. It's it's not very good, but I did feel bad that he kind of enjoyed it, that he didn't enjoy it. But that was the first movie that I saw Kate Beckinsale in, and then I saw her in The Aviator, where the one with Leonardo DiCaprio, that was directed by Martin Scorsese, and I thought she was wonderful in that. And then obviously I saw her in the Underworld movies. Actually, that's a lie. I've seen the first two Underworld movies, and I didn't like the second one. So much so that I've never seen any of the other ones. I've heard that they've all gone downhill, which honestly, is quite a shame because I really enjoyed the first Underworld movie. But Kate Beckinsale has always been an actress that I've loved, and I think, I don't want to be too mean here, but I think she needs a hit. I think that people need to know her name again, and she's kind of, I think, in my mind, she's fallen off the radar and done not a lot, but a number of very low quality material, in my mind at least. Well, that her her return to fame might happen uh, quite soon. Um, she's she's got this new movie coming. This article is on um, MovieWeb, published by Jonathan Fugue. Um, and a little ways down here, it says that Kate Beckinsale has now signed on to star in The Savior, from the director behind the original Highlander, uh, with the action thriller following a mother who must resurrect her particular set of skills to rescue her kidnapped daughter from ruthless human traffickers. Now, the director behind the original Highlander, Russell Mulcahy. The original Highlander's awesome. It's fucking awesome. It's cheesy, but that movie rules. Okay? Now, Russell Mulcahy also directed The Shadow with Alec Baldwin. Not very good. Not very good. He also directed one of the Resident Evil movies, I believe. I don't know which one because I've seen the first two of those. I've only seen the first two of those, and that's it. So Russell Mulcahy doing this directing this movie, I would say, is questionable. But because of Highlander, cool. So a little more ways down here, it says, The Savior will see Beckinsale once again demonstrate her affinity for action as she takes the lead as Jordan Parker, a mother with a mysteriously violent past who is forced to unleash hell when her daughter is taken. All of which sounds gloriously no nonsense. Now, this article does go on to say that The Savior is being billed as a wild combination of Man on Fire, Collateral, and Sicario, with the atmosphere of Prisoners and Seven, according to Deadline. That all sounds great. And look, I cannot emphasize enough, I love movies where a character has male or female, has a past. And they've left that past behind to start a new life or whatever. And then they have to, and then their past comes back to haunt them, and they have to unleash the skills that they've learned in their past life to stop the bad guy, to take out the bad guys, take out the villains. Like there was that movie that came out a few years back, Nobody, with Bob Odenkirk. Movies like that. I had a past life and I left it all behind, but now something awful is about to happen to my family and the people that I love. So you're about to see me do some real bad shit, really awful shit, but I have to. I love movies like that. I cannot emphasize enough how much I love movies like that. Sometimes they are a bit stereotypical, Sometimes they're a bit cliche. But it all depends on how it's executed. A mother with a mysteriously violent past who is forced to unleash hell when her daughter is taken and rescue her kidnapped daughter from ruthless human traffickers. That is interesting. Like, it's not just that, this sounds more severe than Taken with Liam Neeson. This sounds more like we didn't just kidnap your daughter and we want ransom. You know, your daughter is now going to be she's going to be a victim of human trafficking. That part is interesting. And it's all, to me, about how they execute it. Because human trafficking is a real thing. That shit happens. And I think they could really tap into the evil and the darkness that is human trafficking. Like, and this may be a bad example, but maybe it's not. Did anyone see the Black Widow movie with Scarlett Johansson? If you've seen the Black Widow movie with Scarlett Johansson, the opening credits of that movie, that was hold on just a second. I'm getting ready to leave soon for the movies. The opening credits for the Black Widow movie. That was where Malia J, or is it Malia? Malia J performed a cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit. That opening credit scene, and I by the way, I quite enjoyed that movie. But the opening credits of the Black Widow movie, I'm sitting there and I'm going, whoa, like this is going to be something really, really different. Like, this is dark. Like, this is, like, uncomfortable. You know? And my hope is that for this movie, they're going to lean into the uncomfortableness. Is that a word? The uncomfortableness of human trafficking. Like, it sounds weird to say, but like it would be this sounds incredibly cold and incredibly odd to say, but I would like to see that world exposed and explored in this movie that Kate Beckinsale is going to be in. The Savior. Like, to me, it would be cliche if Kate Beckinsale, who plays the mother, saves her child before anything bad happens to her daughter. You know, to me, that would be cliche. Like, for me, it's all about the execution. Like, and again, I know this sounds terrible to say, but like, is something is her daughter going to have a traumatic experience before Kate Beckinsale's character, the mother, is her daughter going to have a traumatic experience before she's rescued by her mother? That and then her mother um um has to help her daughter deal with that experience and cope and I know that I know that would, I mean, it's all about the story and the execution and the characters, and I just feel like I don't want this to be I don't I want this to be different. I don't want it to feel like a taken ripoff, you know, or I want this to be more like Nobody, like that movie Nobody, and less like Taken. You know, like, to me it would feel redundant if Kate Beckinsale, if her character rescues her daughter before shit happens. Like, I would like to see a movie, an action movie like this, where like the woman's past comes back and she has to resurrect her dark, she has to use her past skills that she's learned. I would like to see her I would like to see this be more of a kind of, I want to see the uncomfortable, it's again, it sounds weird to say, but I would like to see the uncomfortability, the uncomfortableness of the human trafficking world, and again, maybe her daughter has a traumatic experience and her mother has to help her deal with that. I know that may be asking a lot for a movie like this, but I just don't want it. Again, it's all about execution, it's all about characters and story, and I just don't want this, because again, I think that Kate Beckinsale needs a hit, and I just don't want this to be cliche in any way, and I know that what I've said sounds incredibly off-putting and odd, but I want to look back at this movie. I want to be able to look back at this movie and be like, yeah, that movie's fucking amazing, and it was epic, and it was not just this cliche action movie about a character using their skills they learned from a past life. It was really intense and uncomfortable, and like, I want that. I you know I know that, again, maybe that sounds off-putting to most people. It probably does, and I apologize for that, but I want this to be good, because I think people need to know Kate Beckinsale's name again. And Russell Mulcahy as a director has a questionable track record. So I hope this is great. I hope this is great. One more piece of news, and then I have to get going. Excuse me. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about what I said. What do you guys think about Kate Beckinsale in The Savior? So, like I said, one more bit of news. So, you guys will recall, from the past couple of weeks, I've been talking about there's this movie coming starring Angelina Jolie called Sunny, which is this female gangster movie, who and there's a female gangster who fights to protect herself and her family from a drug kingpin. And Angelina's going to be in it, and I love her, and it sounds really interesting. It sounds great. Well, there's been more casting news regarding that movie. Um, so, excuse me just a second. I'm so sorry about this. Um, this article is on Deadline, published by Matt Grobar. This article says Mary Stuart Masterson has signed on for a role in Sunny, the mafia thriller from Norwegian filmmaker Eva Sorhag. No word on the role to be played by Masterson. As we reported exclusively, the film is led by Angelina Jolie and will also star Charlie Plummer, Jason Schmidt, and Cliff Method Man Smith. So Mary Stuart Masterson, more recently, she was in the Five Nights at Freddy's movies, which I have not seen either one of those. She was in Fried Green Tomatoes, with Kathy Bates and not Kathy Bates. Hold on. Yeah, Kathy Bates. And Mary Louise Parker and Jessica Tandy and Chris O'Donnell. Kathy Bates, I am Tawanda, And Mary Stuart Masterson was in Fried Green Tomatoes. She played Iggy. And I adore Fried Green Tomatoes. I know that's odd for a man to say, but I love that movie. Yeah, she played Iggy. Unfortunately, I'm not. I love her just because of that, but I'm not too familiar with. I'm not too familiar with the rest of her work. Like, I know her name. When I think. Trying to think what else she's been in. Let me see here. She was in Benny and June with Johnny Depp. Let me see here. She's done a lot of TV. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the rest of her work. She was in Some Kind of Wonderful. She was in the original Stepford Wives in 1975. But yeah, I just know her from Iggy, and she was wonderful. And it's great that she's going to be in this. So, unfortunately, there's not much to go on here in terms of her character and things like that. I'm just happy to see her. As someone who loves who loves that movie Fried Green Tomatoes. Mary Stuart Masterson's going to be in it. That's cool. It'll be great to see her. But like I always say, more casting news means that they're going to start filming soon, which is great. And Angelina Jolie being in a mafia thriller movie like this is going to be. I hope this is awesome. I hope this is great. So anyway, jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think. I hope you enjoyed the show today. I'm sorry if it felt like I was distracted. sometimes sometimes it's, my sometimes my anxiety kicks in, and it's hard for me to form, not form like come up with the right words, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And sometimes doing this is, for me, a little hard. Being on camera, I'm very self-conscious. I always have been, but I enjoy doing the show. uh, but yeah, I do apologize if I seem distracted. um, so I hope you guys enjoyed the show today. I hope you continue to enjoy the show. If you liked this show, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Um, and I will do at least one show next week before me and Katie go on vacation. And so we're leaving. What day are we leaving? So, um, so I will do at least one show next week. We leave a week from tomorrow. So we leave on the 20th. And then we get back. No, I'm sorry. We leave on the 19th. And we'll be back on the 22nd. Um, so we'll be gone 3 or 4 days. And then I have to be at work the next day. So, but I will do at least one show next week before we go on vacation. So yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's show. I'm sorry that I couldn't do more. And I spread the word about the show. Tell your friends. I have to leave. I'm going to go see Send Help, which is, yes, I'm so excited for this. Yes. And so, as always, have a good day. I hope I know it's a crazy world out there, and trust me, I get it. It's lots of real world shit, and sometimes you just can't take it anymore, and you just like I. And that's part of the joy about going to the movies, is you get to escape. You know, but yeah, trust me, I get it. I hope everybody is okay, staying safe, and until next time, I will see you at the movies.